Hi everyone, I'm Scott from Costumers for Christ and you're watching Creative Costuming. Today I am going to show you how to make padded briefs. Listen guys, if you're going to be wearing spandex outside of the house, then you have to remember that they're called tights for a reason. Spandex will cling to every part of your body, and that means that certain parts of your body are going to show. And I think I speak for everybody when I say that nobody wants to see that. And it's especially bad if you're doing charity work or children's events where you've got little kids coming up to you and hugging you or wanting to take their picture with you. A lot of those kids, their heads are right at waist level. So it is absolutely essential that you wear padded underwear beneath your spandex costume. This isn't optional, guys. This is like cosplay 101. You have to do it. So here's what you're going to need for this project. First off, as always, you'll need a pair of scissors. You're also going to need a disappearing ink pen or washable marker that you can mark on the fabric with. You will need some elastic. I prefer to use 3/4 inch elastic, and you'll need just about 1 yard of that, depending on your waist size. You're also going to need some spandex fabric. You'll notice I have two different colors. That's because the briefs will have two layers. There's an outer layer and an inner layer. You don't have to use two different colors. You can use the same if you want. It just helps me keep track of what I'm doing when I do. So you'll need about ½ yard of spandex. You can get this at Joann Fabrics, has a good selection. Otherwise, you can order it online at spandexworld.com or spandexhouse.com. You're also going to need some foam. This is 1/2 inch regular density foam. You can order it online. It's called AirTex. You can get it at joanns.com. You can also get the green stuff, which is high density foam, in the Joann Fabrics store. You won't need a big whole roll like I have here. You're actually only going to need about 6 inches. We're going to cut out a piece about that big is also. That's all that you're going to need for that. And then last but not least, you will need this downloadable template. You just click the link in the description below and that will take you to a place where you can download this template. And you'll notice that there are 2 pages. This is designed right now to fit most guys with a 32 to 38 inch waist. So if you're in that medium to large range, this will fit you as is. If you're a little bit smaller than that or a little bit bigger than that, you'll have to modify the pattern slightly, but this should fit most guys. The first step is simply cutting this pattern out, and then once you've done that, then you'll be ready to trace it onto your fabric. Now, when you're preparing to transfer the pattern onto the fabric, you want to fold your fabric in half like this and make sure that it's nice and smooth, laying flat. Then take your pattern and lay it on top of the fabric like so. Then you're going to take your disappearing ink pen and just trace that pattern right onto the fabric. You'll notice the edge of the pattern lines up with the folded edge of the fabric. And you'll also notice that the pattern tells you to add 2 inches across the top. So you'll just want to grab a ruler and mark 2 inches in a couple places. And then you can just draw a straight line across the top. The only reason the pattern is 2 inches short is because I wanted to fit it on one piece of paper for you, make it easier. Otherwise I would have had that extra 2 inches on there. Then, when you cut the pattern out, you'll want to be careful to make sure you cut through both layers of spandex. And when you unfold it, you have the front half of your briefs. So just do the same thing for the back half, and then you can use these pieces as a pattern to cut out the second set for the outer layer. Alright, once you have all 4 of your pattern pieces cut out, I want to show you the correct order in which to lay them so that you can sew them properly. First, we're going to lay the back of the briefs, the back inside layer, face up. Then we're going to lay the back outside layer face up, stacked directly on top of that. Then we're going to take the front outside layer face down, and lay it on top of there. And then we're going to take the front inside layer face down directly on top of that. Once you've got those laid flat in that order and you get your edges all lined up, you'll be ready to sew. Now that we're at the sewing machine, you're going to want to make sure that you have your thread loaded, both the spool and the bobbin. And we're going to use foot G, which is the overlocking presser foot. If you don't have one of those, you can use a regular presser foot, but this is the better foot to use. We're also going to be using stitch number 8 on a Brother sewing machine, which is the overlocking stretch stitch. This will seal the edge of the fabric, but at the same time allow the fabric to stretch. We're going to take all 4 layers. This is the bottom of the briefs, so right at the bottom of the crotch, and we're going to sew all 4 layers of fabric together. Be sure to lock your stitch first, and then just stitch from one end to the other. Right. Once you've done that, you're going to go back and do the same thing to both sides of the briefs. So this side here and this side here. Once you finish sewing the sides and the bottom of the briefs, it should look about like this. The next thing we're going to do is seal the edges around the seat and thighs. So we're going to use the same stitch and the same presser foot, and we just put the brief leg over like this and then sew all the way around. Now you just want to do the same thing to the other side, and then you'll be ready to hem. Now, in order to hem the seat and thighs, we're going to have to switch to a different foot. We're going to use the regular presser foot, and we're also going to have to switch to a different stitch. We'll be using a number 4 zigzag stitch. And you may want to change the width and length. For me, I'll be using a 2.5 on the length and a 4.5 on the width. Then you simply take your briefs and put the leg around like this and fold in that part that we just sealed about 1/4 of an inch, and then you're just going to zigzag stitch right over that edge. Then you just want to do the same thing to the other side. There. Once you have both sides hemmed, it should look like this. And now you're ready to attach the elastic to the top of the waistband. When preparing the elastic for sewing to the waistband, you want to lay your briefs out flat and then take a piece of elastic, fold it in half, and it should be just a little bit shorter than the briefs themselves. That way it'll help keep that waistband tight around your waist. Once we have our elastic at the right length, the first thing we need to do is sew it into a loop like this. So we're going to take these 2 ends, overlap them just slightly, and then stitch them together using the same regular presser foot and zigzag stitch that we used to hem. Now that we have a loop, we're ready to attach this to the briefs. So we're going to have to switch back to our G overlocking stitch foot. And we're going to switch back to stitch 8 in order to stitch the elastic onto the briefs. So you'll take the back of the briefs and line that stitch up right with the back center of the briefs, and you're stitching through the elastic and both layers of spandex. Okay, once you've stitched the elastic all the way across the top of the waistband, it should look roughly like this. The next step will be hemming that down. So we're going to switch feet again. We'll use a regular presser foot for this. And we're going to switch back to stitch number 4. And I'm going to lengthen and widen it a little bit. I'll be using a 2 and a 4.5 for that, or a 2.5 actually and a 4.5. So then we just take the briefs, fold down that top part at the elastic, and then we'll just zigzag stitch over the edge, just like we did when we hemmed the seat and thighs. Once you've finished hemming the top of your waistband, your brief should look about like this. Next we're going to lay them flat, and we're going to just draw a couple of straight lines that come from the top of the waistband down to the side. And then what you need to do is cut out a piece of that 1/2 inch high density foam that is roughly that same size. Same size and shape, should fit right inside those lines that we just drew. Then set that aside, and we're going to stitch these lines for this. We'll use the regular presser foot and just line it up over top of that line. And we're going to use a number 3 straight stretch stitch. Should look like this on most sewing machines, like a little lightning bolt. And then you just sew through both layers over top of that line. Now just do the same thing to the other line, and you'll be ready to insert the padding. So at this point you should have a pair of briefs that looks like this, with 2 lines stitched through both layers and a foam pad that looks like this. And the last step is simply inserting the pad into the briefs. So in order to do that, we're going to have to cut a small slit through the inside layer of spandex. Now you need to be very careful only to cut through the inside layer. You don't want to cut through both layers. And you need to make it just big enough for the pad to fit through. Just about like that. And then you just take the pad and you stuff it inside. It's going to take a minute to kind of work it down in there and get it in the right place. But the reason we do it this way, as opposed to simply stitching the pad in place, is that this way the pad is removable. You'll have to take it out whenever you wash the briefs, and you also will have to replace it every now and then. This pad will probably last you for a good year or 2, but they do get worn thin over time, and so you'll have to replace them. But once your pad is in place, you are ready to suit up. And like I said before, never leave the house in spandex without padded underwear. And by the way, as an added bonus, this same pattern can be used to create briefs or trunks for characters who like to wear their underwear on the outside of their costume. So if you're working on like a classic Superman or Batman costume, this is the pattern that you would use. So good luck with this project. If you have any questions or suggestions for future videos, please leave that in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe, because we've got some really cool costuming tutorials coming your way. And as always, Thanks for watching. God bless and happy costuming.